Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi alladhi hadana lihadha wa ma kunna linahtadiya lawla an hadana Allah. Wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa Allah wa nashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. أرسله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله وكفى بالله شهيدا بلغ الرسالة وأدى الأمانة ونصح الأمة وكشف الغمة وجاهد في سبيل الله حق جهاده حتى أتى اليقين فصلوات الله وسلامه عليه اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. My respected brothers and sisters, may Allah's peace, His guidance, His mercy, His protection, His forgiveness be with you in this stage of life and the next stage, the stage of grave, and the stage when we will be taken out of our graves and brought in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on day of judgment. Ameen thumma ameen. At about 1:30 we started the program at time, but for some technical difficulties it was not being loaded on, was not live streaming on Facebook, so we start again. And in that we started the program with an ayah from chapter 7, ayah number 204, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about Quran in Quran, what Allah says about Quran in Quran. And it says, بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وإذا قرئ القرآن فاستمعوا له وأنصتوا لعلكم ترحمون. And the meaning closer to the original in Arabic, in English language, closer in English language, is that so when the Quran is recited, listen to it and be silent. وأنصتوا واستمعوا له وأنصتوا, and then be silent that you may receive mercy of Allah. Just think about it, something which has been sent to us to guide us, to protect us in this life and guide us through, all the way through this worldly, mortal life, and then we will be buried and then we will be taken out. A book which helps us in each and every step of our life. If we don't listen to it, and if we don't pay attention to it, and if we don't respect it, and if we don't follow it, and we don't personally practice it ourselves first before taking it to somebody, we receive no guidance. Allah is sending us guidance and we are losing ourselves from the path which Allah has destined us to be on. So, wa'ayadu billah, and it is very important that we must listen to Quran, and we must understand Quran, and we must practice Quran in our daily lives. Religion, my respected brothers and sisters, you know it. It is not about the outward display of piety. In your clothes, in your this, in your that. No, it is about your personal practice of religion which helps other people, whether they are Muslims or non-Muslims. Which helps people, shows how good you are. And if a person is not, if a person is not practicing and following Quran, it's showing what? That he has not paid due attention to Quran. He has not understood Quran. He has left the message of Quran, and while it was available for him, we have enough sense that when we are hungry, we eat. But when we need guidance, we don't take it. Just imagine what kind of travesty is to ourselves, what kind of animosity we are practicing towards ourselves. Today's ayat, my respected brothers and sisters, would be ayah number 215 and 216 of second chapter of Quran. And where we do the recitation first, and then inshallah we come to the translation and then to the exegesis, the tafsir of those two ayat. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يسألونك ماذا ينفقون قل ما أنفقتم من خير فللوالدين والأقربين واليتامى والمساكين وابن السبيل وما تفعلوا من خير فإن الله به عليم كتب عليكم القتال وهو كره لكم وعسى أن تكرهوا شيئا وهو خير لكم وعسى أن تحبوا شيئا وهو شر لكم والله يعلم وأنتم لا تعلمون. صدق الله العظيم. The translation of these two ayat, my respected brothers and sisters, they ask you, O Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, what we should spend. What we should spend. Say, whatever you spend on good must be for parents and relatives and orphans and the needy and the travelers. And whatever of good you do, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is aware of it all. He knows what you are doing. The next ayah number 216, it says, fighting in cause of Allah for a just reason has been made compulsory upon you, although you may not like it. And it may be that you dislike a thing which is good for you, and that you like a thing which is not good for you. Allah knows, and you do not know. Sadaqallahu al-Azim. So tafsir of first ayah, this ayah, the second ayah will also, first ayah will talk about the zakat. This ayah was revealed before the orders of zakat was sent. Before the ayat of zakat were sent. This ayah was received. So it talks about the zakat to spend in the cause, spend in charity towards walidain and relatives and others. Then when the ayat of zakat came, that changed. Okay, so we will talk about that first. The second ayah will be about when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said fighting in cause of Allah. Okay, that ayah, fighting in cause of Allah, is not about what people, and especially in Western Hemisphere, and even by the Muslim so-called tyrannical dictator Muslim rulers have called it as a jihad against the humanity, or it is jihad, universal jihad, and this and that, and gave a bad name. What jihad is, this ayah would explain, inshallah. We will try to do it in the time we have. In the tafsir of the ayah, the first word came in Arabic is yas'alunak. That means, and they ask you. As'al is sal. When the root word is sal. Sal means to ask, to question something. Yas'alunak, that they ask. At the end came kaf, K, the word yas'alunak. That it is towards Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that they are asking you, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That it means that they are asking you, and through him first, through Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they are asking Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And because Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said, the ballighu anni walau ayah, that talk about me or take my message, even if it is one word, to others. Okay? So when he says that, it is our responsibility that we first practice ourselves, apply the lessons of Quran on ourselves first, if we are paying attention to it, and then we show people what is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about in this book, in the languages which they understand. Al-Qur'an says that there was a companion of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and his name was Amr bin al-Jamal. Amr bin al-Jamal. He was very old and he was very rich. So he came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he asked Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, after he accepted Islam for a few days, he came and he says, I have a lot of money. He says, please advise me how should I spend and who should I spend upon. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent this ayah down. Yas'alunaka, they're asking this question. Yas'alunaka madha yunfiqun. That they are asking you that how and where and on whom we should spend our money. So the same word yasalunak is used 15 times in Quran in 13 different ayats. And those are the topics which are very, very important in our life. Like yasalunaka anil yatama. That, oh Muhammad, they're asking you about the yateens, about the orphans. So how should we deal with them? How should we, when we are dealing with them, what should be our attitude? What should we do with them? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent, these very, very important questions. Okay? Yes, alunak. So, there are 15 other questions like that in the Quran. As-Suddi said that this ayah was revealed before the orders of zakat, ayat of zakat, before the zakat became obligatory, zakat became fard. We need to understand the difference between, if you ask somebody, if you ask majority of the Muslims, people like me, those who claim to be Muslim, that what is the difference between zakat and sadaqat? Very few people can tell you. Unfortunately, that is again a cause of not listening to Quran. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, وَإِذَا قُرِيَ الْقُرْآنَ فَاسْتَمِعُوا لَهُ وَأَنصِتُوا لَعَلَّكُمْ تُرْحَمُونَ, that if you want mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then when Quran is read to you, is being taught to you, you are listening to it, or you yourself reading it, pay attention to it and learn something from it, so you can receive mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. لَعَلَّكُمْ تُرْحَمُونَ. So As-Suddi rahmatullah alayh further says that when one gives zakat, he or she must have earned it from the rightful means. This is the first condition of giving zakat. You cannot give zakat by selling liquor, have a liquor store, or doing something wrong and earn some money from gambling and go out and give 2.5% from that. The money have to be yours, and somebody takes a neighbor's car, sell it and give zakat on that money. I mean, that concept is out of Islam. So the money has to be earned legally, lawfully, properly, things which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordained that these are the right means to earn. Not from anything and then become a good Muslim and start paying zakat. Well, I receive money from the bank, interest, okay? And then I'm paying zakat from that money. Allahu Akbar. This is all the result, a direct outcome of not listening and paying attention to Quran and Quranic legislations, the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ibn Atiyah said that only then it becomes a good deed that if you have earned it right. If you have not earned it right, there is no concept. And the zakat have to be given to your closest relative first. Masajid or other places, those who want to change carpet and take it from the zakat money, it's a wrong thing to do. Giving for that purpose from zakat money is wrong. Ibn Atiyah rahmatullah alayh said that in early days the parents and wives and children were eligible for zakat. However, when the ayat of zakat came down, was revealed, the zakat was made exclusive right of certain people and in certain things. The parents, wife and children, they are your obligation. They are not beggars. They are your obligations. And zakat money cannot be given to them. You have to spend from what you're earning. First you do that. If you don't have, to give it to the poor. If you are not, which is in Arabic it's called nisab, that if you don't earn to that level, and if you don't, and 12 months have passed and you don't have this much amount, then there is no zakat on you. So the difference between zakat and sadaqat is the sadaqah is given voluntarily. Zakat is compulsory. If you have the nisab, zakat is compulsory. Sadaqah is given voluntarily. And even sadaqah, as the half piece of one date fruit, you break it in two pieces and you give half to somebody, that is sadaqah. If you don't have that, then you smile to another person, male to a male and a female to a female. Don't get it wrong. And start smiling at every female we see. That your smile towards another Muslim, another person for that matter, Muslim or not, your smile towards another person is the sadaqah in cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In a cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then it says, and the difference is that zakat amount and percentage is fixed, and sadaqah is not fixed. It's up to the depth of your faith and your conviction that whatever you have needs of, you are giving in those needs, and whatever you can, from the goodness of your heart, you can afford to give it to somebody who is deserving among the closest relatives. And if they are all rich, then give it to somebody else out of your immediate family. Give it to them. But if parents and wife and family, they are not eligible for zakat. We cannot use money from zakat on them. And a Muslim must spend on his parents. It's not that they become old and we take them to elder care and just deposit him somewhere and go once a month, or on Mother's Day, or on Father's Day. That have no concept in Islam of those things. That a Muslim must spend on his parents to the point, if parents are living someplace else and you are living in a different house, and you have Allah's mercy on you and Allah has given you so much, then you must spend on your parents till their standard and your standard becomes equal. Their standard and your standard become equal, because they spend on you when they did not. You don't know. How did they get the money to put diapers on you or buy the feed for you? So you have to treat them. You have to treat them at their level. That is not that they have debts and you are buying Rolls Royces. So their standard of living and your standard of living becomes same. That's how we must treat our parents. As for the expenses, a son does not have to pay the expense of his parents' Hajj or Umrah from his money if the parents have the capacity to use their own money to go for Hajj. Because Hajj is from a person's own money. So if they have a capacity, they should use it. Everything else, you can take care of it. So as the sadaqah can be used for poor and orphans and widows and the travelers and needy students. Sadaqah can be used and so forth in those things. The topic is discussed in Quran in many different ayat, and when we come to those ayat, we will go into the details of it. Otherwise, this one topic of sadaqah and zakat, we can spend days on it, talking about it. One of the greatest sadaqah, my respected brothers and sisters, and this is a fard on every person, and a sunnah also of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that if you believe on Allah and you believe on Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and you have a beneficial knowledge which can help somebody, then you should transfer that knowledge to that person. That is one of the greatest sadaqah. And a scholar said it is one of the greatest jihad, to transferring knowledge, beneficial knowledge to somebody else. Jihad has many aspects. It's not about blowing buses, or shut down send some people with the sticks in their hands or suicide waste and things like that, and blow up people and kill innocent people. That's not jihad, that is murder. And we should know that. And we will talk about it inshallah in the next ayah. And those who have knowledge and they transfer it, they become what? They are teachers, right? In my life, I have seen one country, one environment where teachers have the most respect in that society. And that country is my country, Turkey. Turkey, a teacher is called Hoca. Hoca means my master, my teacher. And when a student come to a teacher, they will say salam, they will shake hand with them and take their hand and kiss it and put it on their forehead. The teacher have the same position and authority as a parent in Turkish families. I mean it. I have been in that position. I have been in that position, teaching there. That how the respect which I get from that society in teaching, I have never gotten anywhere else. How they respect people, their teachers, at every level. At every level. And if the student will come home and say the teacher did this, here teachers are scared of their life. And even in majority of the Muslim countries, if the student's parents, if any student parent is in a government position, teacher should leave that planet and go someplace else, because that parent will destroy that teacher's life. Islam teaches that if you know, Islam ordains, Allah ordains on believers that if you believe on Allah and if you have some knowledge, transfer it. And the reason for it, somebody told me this in Arabic. Beautiful proverb. In Turkish it's called atasuzu. It's a proverb. And they said that لو دامت لغيرك ما وصلت إليك. That if it has lasted for somebody else, it would have never reached to you. The knowledge reached to you because somebody else benefited you. You benefited from somebody else's knowledge. And then you put it to practice. So it is, transfer of knowledge is one of the greatest sadaqah in the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. At the end of this ayah, Allah the Almighty guarantees that whatever we give in His cause, whatever we give in His cause for the benefit of the people, actually benefits you. That, it benefits the person who is learning from you, but it benefits you more. Because that knowledge was given to you. Allah gave you a brain. He could have made you somebody who, everything is fine in the body, but the brain doesn't work. Huh? And then you could have neither learn or not teach anything. So it is your benefit that you receive the knowledge, then you must transfer the knowledge to somebody else. And it is said that the believers are always the beggars. Believers are always the beggars of Almighty Allah. That we are always asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that give us ilman na'fa, that give us the knowledge which is beneficial to us. Give us knowledge, give us the company of the people who we can benefit from their knowledge of, whether through internet or in person or anywhere. And it says that we are always, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a believer is always a beggar to Almighty Allah. What is he begging from Almighty Allah? The knowledge. Number one. Then he is begging Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for mercy through that knowledge. And then he is begging the forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We remain beggar till we are buried. May Almighty Allah take us back from this worldly life. My respected brothers and sisters, may Almighty Allah take us back from this worldly life as a beggar. As a beggar of mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As a beggar of benevolence of Allah. And as a beggar of His forgiveness. Ameen, inshallah, ameen. The tafsir of the next ayah, my respected brothers and sisters, where it says fighting in cause of Allah for a just cause has been made compulsory upon you. Kutiba alaykum al-qitalu wa huwa kurhun lakum. Kutiba alaykum al-qitalu wa huwa kurhun lakum. In the Medina period of Medina from year 622 to 632, those 10 years were in Medina period. Before that, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam for 12-13 years were in Makkah al-Mukarramah. Okay? And that was the center of sins. Okay? And center of arrogance and ignorance was Makkah at that time. Muhammad al-Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam was 40 years old when he was made a messenger. Everybody knows that. When he received the first wahi, he was 40 years old. He stayed continuously calling people towards Allah and calling people towards the only one deity worthy of worship, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and nobody else. So in Medina period, when 13 years he stayed as a messenger and a prophet in Makkah al-Mukarramah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala never talked about fight. Never ordered him to fight. Then when he moved to, in year 622, the 22nd to 632nd, for those 10 years, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first time in this ayah used the word qital. Kutiba alaykum al-qital. Qital, this new term, Tafsir al-Qurtubi and Tafsir al-Siddi, and Tafsir ibn Abbas said that which means fighting. You see, the fighting, it means qital does not mean murder. Qital does not mean war. War means harb, not qital. War is harb. Okay? Qital is fighting for a just cause. For a just cause only in self-defense when you are attacked. When you are attacked, that is, and that qital is done against aggression. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was told that you are being told, you are being ordered to fight back against those oppressors and aggressors of Mecca. That was the first time Muhammad al-Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam was told. In Mecca, Almighty Allah didn't give permission to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to fight back for two reasons. The scholars say the first reason was the religion of Allah was in its infancy. It was just like an infant, you know. It was very new, it was infancy. There was nothing but problems all around. People used to bury the way they used to treat their wives and the way they used to bury their girls alive. In that environment, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam comes, and he was 1 or 2 or 3 at that time. And if he would have stood up and fought with them, Islam would have come and gone in the same day. They were not accepting any guidance from anybody. They were in their own. And what happens, when that happens, it happens due to the corrupt leadership. The corrupt political and religious leadership, corruption makes people do those things. What people were doing at that time of arrogance, and now we are doing it again. Now we are doing it again. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the first reason was that Islam was in infancy. The second reason was that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is most merciful and most forgiving. Why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not tell him to fight back and defend himself when they are their aggression was committed against them? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to give the people, the deniers, the disbelievers, the pagans of Mecca, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to give them enough time and opportunity to accept and understand and accept Islam. Those who were clean-hearted, like Sayyida Khadija radiallahu anha. A messenger, just imagine a messenger receiving the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and comes home to a woman, and she covers him and she supports him and she gives him comfort that no, you are the most trustworthy and most dependable, and you people know you for 40 years. Okay, so she comforts him. Now we think women are weak, right? This messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam coming to his wife, and she is comforting him. Allah could have sent angels if he would have asked at that time to comfort him. No, he was Nabi ar-Rahma. He was وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him people around him. Then he comes. Then Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. People ask him, why Abu Bakr? Why? Somebody like you, a writer, a poet, a rich man. Why did you listen to this, astaghfirullah, na'uzubillah, this shepherd, Muhammad? He says, because he's right. Because he's honest. He's trustworthy. He's truthful. And why I accept Islam? They asked him, why did you accept? He said, why I accept? Because he said he is a messenger. That was enough for me. Because his character for 40 years. People knowing who he was. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave a sufficient amount of time for people to understand and remember the divine message and start practicing it. When that time was not, when 13 years were given to them to accept Muhammad al-Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and in return, very, very few people accepted him. Because he became a challenge to the authority. He was talking about do not corrupt, do not take money, do not kill people, do not bury your daughters, do not cheat, do not lie, do not fight, do not kill. And that was too much for a community of arrogance and ignorance. So they started oppressing Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. After 13 years, Muhammad al-Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam was told to migrate from this place and go to Medina. So he left that place. So he arrives to Medina. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Mecca was told to respond in a nicer way to Meccans when they were living in Mecca, and deliver the message through patience and perseverance and forbearance. And if they argue with you, then argue back with them with wisdom which you are being taught. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is teaching the wisdom. sending down the Quran. The revelation was the wisdom which was supposed to be used to argue in a nicer manner with your enemies. You know, we take a baseball bat or blow up somebody's house. After 12 or 13 years of preaching and inviting people in Mecca, when the Prophet ﷺ went to Medina, Allah gave him permission for the first time to fight back those who do not stop their aggression and their violence and their hatred against you. Fight back, but only to the limit which they are fighting you. وَلَا تَعْتَدُوا, and do not cross that limit, that threshold. They did this to you. Okay, if they come and kill an innocent person on the Muslim side, okay, it was not that somebody should go and kill a non-Muslim in Mecca. That was not allowed. That was not allowed. That is allowed only in war if you are threatened that if you put your arms down, then you will be killed. Then you defend yourself. A hadith refers to four, and this is a very, very important thing for Muslims and non-Muslims equally to understand what is jihad in Islam. What is jihad in Islam? A hadith refers to four primary ways the jihad should be carried out. How the jihad should be carried out. You know, you go to a Muslim country and everybody is, hell-bent. Trying to blow up somebody who may be his neighbor. Okay? A Muslim, another Muslim, maybe from another sect, maybe from another tribe, just because there is a disagreement between them. And they call it jihad. There is no concept of such in Islam. Number one, jihad, which is called through this hadith, is called by jihad by heart. Jihad bil qalb, bin nafs. That from by heart, from your nafs. And it says that a person sees something against the orders of Almighty Allah, and from his heart and his action, he personally refrains from doing that thing because it is against order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You are doing a jihad. You're saving yourself from falling into disgrace, falling into something which is not allowed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The believers are warned against the tricks of their own heart and soul. Own heart. You know that this is called yuqa shuh nafsih. That the things which boils inside the heart of a person and the nafs of a person, and he wants in the soul of a person, and he wants to do it, and learn and personally practices the ordinance and limitations of Almighty Allah, must be applied first to himself and then his to near and dear ones, and then to others. Sayyidina Ajluni in Kashful Khafa, there's a book, Kashful Khafa, it's the opening of secrets. That's the name of the book, as Kashful Khafa. That in hadith, it says, hadith number 413, quoted the Prophet ﷺ saying that the greatest of the jihad, one of the greatest jihad, is against your own soul. Follow what Allah have told you. Control your nafs. Number one is one of the jihad. It's not that the other jihad are lesser important. But if I don't have control on my own and go attack my neighbor, am I a Muslim? Of course not. Of course not. Number two is jihad by tongue and jihad by pen, in writing and in speech. When a person sees something against the orders of Almighty Allah, and he or she equally, it's not that women are not supposed to do this, only men. The only men, this is men's world, it only exists in men's head. It's not men's world only, it's men and women's world equally. And it says that he or she uses his or her best efforts and nicer manner to inform and educate people about the consequences of wrong actions. It's not that go tell somebody that you're doing something wrong, and you will burn in hell. No, give him an example that how harmful could that be for you, and what can be the consequences of your wrong actions. There are many ayat in glorious Quran about jihad by tongue and jihad by pen. In Surah Nahl, I request my respected brothers and sisters that whenever you have time, read Surah Nahl and read it in whatever language you understand better. And you will see that how many legislations are there in Surah Nahl, in one surah. It says in Surah Nahl, which is 16th chapter of Quran, in ayah number 125, Ud'u ila sabili rabbika bil hikmati wal ma'idhatil hasanati wajadilhum billati hiya ahsan. Billati hiya ahsan. Inna rabbaka huwa a'lamu biman dalla an sabilih wa huwa a'lamu bil muhtadin. That invite the humankind, invite people, men and women, to the ways of your Lord with wisdom and wisdom of divine revelations and fair preaching, a decent manner, a fair preaching. Don't call people they are kafir, they will go to hell. You know, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has specifically stopped people. The abashiru wala tunaffiru. That give people glad tidings. Do not let them run away from faith. Give them glad tidings. Give them hope in Allah. And it says that, and argue with them in a better way. Truly, only your Lord knows. Only your Lord knows best who has gone astray from Allah's path and because He is the best and more aware of those who are guided. People think that I'm the guided one, and anybody who is listening to me or not listening to me is going to go to hell. That's not the right attitude. That is not dawah. That is not inviting people towards Allah. That's not jihad by tongue and jihad by pen. A form of jihad by tongue and pen is when a person knows or he or she has learned a beneficial knowledge from some other source, that he gives that knowledge to somebody else. The third form of jihad is by hand. Jihad by hand means by physical actions other than combat, other than armed conflict or combat. That a person sees someone in need in his immediate family, or people he knows that they are in distress, such as after the floods, after the hurricanes, after the famine, after hunger, after shortage of shelter. People don't have places to live. They're living on the streets. They don't have places, they don't have means to eat. How many of us are going out and doing that jihad by hand? And says shortage of shelter, lack of education. How many of us will go out voluntarily and say, come, sit down and let's discuss something. If I'm good in physics, how many times I've tried to teach physics to those who are weak in it, or chemistry, or mathematics, or English, or any language, any good things any knowledge which is beneficial. How many times I have done that, and I talk about jihad. What jihad? Where are you when the community needs these things? That is jihad by hand, short of a jihad. And then there is another thing which takes people to kufr, which takes people to denial of Allah, is to give people knowledge which is not correct. Any gathering I sit, and when people are doing question answer, they come up with something which they heard from somebody, which has nothing to do with Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam or orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The guy just shoots off his mouth and wants people to follow him. That is the jihad in cause of shaitan. What Allah accepts is jihad in cause of Allah, not in cause of shaitan. So we cannot transfer a wrong knowledge to somebody. Then comes jihad by sword, by arms, by ammunition. Then there comes a time between nations or between groups of people when all peaceful efforts, all settlements, all agreements, all negotiations are exhausted. All efforts are exhausted. You have tried your level best to negotiate some terms so you avoid an armed conflict with anybody. but the other person continues to oppress against you, continues to practice aggression against you. And then at that time, this is when a person, his family, his community, and his country, and his dwellings, and his possessions, all being threatened through oppression and aggression. And it would not stop no matter how much you try to negotiate, no matter how much you try to call people towards peace. At that time, any person with a grain of brain, a grain of rice, if any person with a grain of brain would tell you that you have right to defend yourself. That's what the concept of jihad in Islam is. Not blowing up buses, closing schools, factories, nobody can go to work because there are some people, they are blocking the streets. The oppressed people at that time, those who are facing that aggression and oppression at that time, under a proper command is only in the hand of the person who himself understands and follows the orders of Allah and the practices of Muhammad al-Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Only that person of authority in the country can order people or ask people that I have tried my level best. Now it is a time that they keep coming at you. If they're coming at you, if it comes to your neck, what are you going to do? You're going to submit yourself and let the guy kill your family? No, you will defend yourself. That is the concept of jihad in Islam. And the armed combat, there is the one condition of armed combat in Islam is that the combat ceases when the adversary stops his aggression. As soon as they back out, you back out. It's not that they back out and you just continue to go and destroy their whole country and carpet bombing everything. Send drones. Kill people in schools and hospitals and all that. That's no jihad. That's not a jihad in Christianity. That's not jihad in Islam. That's not jihad in Judaism. The concept is totally different in jihad in all divine scriptures and all divine religion, not only in Islam. And it says, the adversary stops the aggression and willing to settle the differences through negotiation, or just simply backs off and stops and would not even talk to you after that. You must stop if he backs out. You must stop when he backs out. You would not continue. You would not continue the aggression. Muslims are ordained to yet once again, when they are backing off the oppression and aggression, we are ordained to ask them, do you want to sit down and talk peace? And if they say no, we're still your enemy, but they are not being aggressive against you, they are not oppressing you, let them go. You can't go after them and kill them if they are walking away from you. The jihad in Islam, even in case of armed conflict and combat, has specific rules of engagement in jihad. It's a specific conduct and behavior by Muslim forces in defending their rights. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sets the limitation and He ordains in chapter An-Nahl, again, chapter 16, ayah number 127, and ayah number 126. Chapter 16, I think, have 126, 127 or 28 ayat, 128 ayat. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this ayah said, and if you have to punish your enemy for their aggression, then punish them only as much as you have been afflicted upon by them, not more. فَإِنْ عَاقَبْتُمْ فَآقِبُوا بِمِثْلِ مَا أُوقِبْتُمْ بِهِ. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala further goes and says, but if you endure, if you have endurance and you endure patiently, verily it is better for those who have patience. Don't go and take revenge from them. The above four types of jihad are the situations, my respected brothers and sisters, where people must struggle and strive for it. The cause, the reason of jihad have to be very specific. It's not for anything. Somebody said something to your uncle and you go attack his house and call it a jihad. That is against Islam. That is against Islam. All countries, believe me, we have countries where the conflict between two Muslim tribes been going on for 200 years. And then the same people stand up and talk about jihad. Allahu Akbar. Look at yourself. Imam al-Sayyuti in Jami al-Kabir, in his book Jami al-Kabir, in volume 4, says, quotes a hadith, and he says, Muhammad al-Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wasallam, once he was returning after a holy battle, okay? He was returning after a battle, and he came to a higher area, on top of a hill, where he can see the houses, the dwellings of Medina. They were coming back to Medina. He saw the dwellings of Medina, and he stopped his troops, and he says, "Oh my people, oh my friends, we are going back to a greater jihad from a smaller jihad." They were coming from a battle, an armed battle. That was a smaller jihad. And a greater jihad is your daily life with your families, living in your own environment, living in your own dwellings. That's a jihad. You have to act with patience, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَلَئِن صَبَرْتُمْ لَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لِلصَّابِرِينَ. That's why Allah said, when you are with your own people, okay, you have to have patience. You have to have patience. So then there was another story where Rasulullah, some companion of Rasulullah came to him, and he wanted to go for jihad. People were preparing to go to fight the enemies of Mecca. There was news that they are coming to attack, confirmed news. They were coming to attack. A person came and asked Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Ya Rasulullah, I want to join and go in jihad against the aggressors and arrogance of Mecca." So he asked him, he said, "Are your parents alive?" He says, "No." He says, "Neither mother nor father?" He said, "No." He said, "Who else you have?" He said that I have an aunt who is very old. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Go serve her, and your work, good work towards her and serving her, Allah will give you a reward as fighting in cause of Allah against his enemies." But there are times when you have to get up and go. And those are the times that if you don't, then you will be eliminated. Life is the most, whether your life or your enemy's life, this is the most, most important thing for you is life itself. Most sacred thing. So you have to protect the life, your life and your enemy's life, and you don't fight him unless he comes to a point that you cannot avoid it anymore. He oppresses against you and become aggressive against you, and it comes to your possessions, it's come to your family, it's come to your honor, it's come to your own life. Then you would fight, and you would fight only to the extent of what he is fighting you for, not more. If you fight more than that is called zulm. That is zulm, that you have crossed, you become an aggressor against your enemy, even he was a Muslim or a non-Muslim. You become an aggressor at that time. And Allah does not like aggressors. No matter how big Muslim you are, and if you take a revenge, more than what he did something to your enemy, more than what he did, then you are an aggressor. And you are hated by Lord. The word jihad, we need to understand what jihad is. The word jihad, according to Encyclopedia Britannica, the word jihad means a meritorious struggle or an effort for the just cause and a just reason. There is no jihad without a reason. It should be the cause, should be just, should be truth, should be just cause. The word jihad is more meritorious than the English word crusade. You remember crusade? Nobody talks about that. Nobody wants to talk about it. Okay? Look at what crusaders did. Nobody is thinking about that. But that was right. But as soon as the word jihad comes, everybody's, antenna go up. Just think about it. that what is the meaning of jihad, what jihad is, and what people understand, including Muslims, what they understand of jihad. Go kill somebody, shed his blood is jihad. No, that's not jihad. That is not jihad. So, however, extremely unfortunately, the Islamophobes and the tyrannical, dictatorial Muslim rulers tag all their enemies. Everybody who is against them and stands up and say anything against them and challenges their power that, look, you did something wrong. They call him, he's a jihadi terrorist. He's a jihadi terrorist. Lock him up. He has no right to live anymore. Even Muslim rulers do that and have locked up hundreds of thousands of people on the name of this and on the name of that. Call their organization terrorist organization. So, the terrorism and Islamic radicalism or jihadis and all that, if they don't come in the definition of 4 definitions which we talked about: jihad by heart, jihad by tongue, jihad by pen, jihad by hand, in helping people out in their dire situations, and then comes the jihad in combat, armed jihad under certain situations. You want to know you want to have the examples of crusade or jihad? Let's call it crusade. Let's call it jihad. Let's see the use of term jihad. Islam emphasizes using all legal, diplomatic, and economic means before taking up arms. If you can put sanction against a country, and that can avoid a war, then you would do that. But that have to be done for rightful reason. Okay? To protect people's faith and to protect people's property and their dwellings and their possessions against the enemy. The word jihad, let's use it, jihad and crusade together. Okay? So jihad and crusade should be against poverty, against racism, against discrimination, racial discrimination, against espousal, child and elder abuse. Jihad and crusade should be against sexual abuse of minors by the clergy, by the priests and by the mullahs. There should be a jihad. How many people stand up and say that what's happening in churches or what happened in some of the masajid should not happen? That is a near jihad right there. We keep quiet on it because we like the mullah. You know, it is so much in Muslim countries, may not be this much here because people report. In Muslim countries, you go to report and the policeman, whoever goes first, the police officer would come and take from the alleged, the person who is accused, take some money, $100 from him, and go beat up the one who is complaining against his, against the accuser. Just go beat up the accuser for money. So the jihad and crusade against lack of education. How about that? How about jihad against corruption by the politicians? How about jihad against the corruption of the rich and famous? That a rich and famous person does something, okay, and he gets slapped on the wrist, 2 months probation. And a black person goes out and does something exactly the same thing or much lesser than that, and she gets 5 years. 5 years in jail. What about jihad against drugs? What about jihad against homelessness? What about jihad against hate and Islamophobia? What about jihad against discrimination? What about jihad against hunger and oppression and so forth? There are so many things to do jihad about. And of course, when it comes to your raqabah, when it comes to your neck, of course you will fight. But there are so many that some ignorant and so-called Muslim use the rubric of jihad to justify and entice violence against Muslims and non-Muslims and their places of worship. How many examples are there in Muslim countries that we have burned the places of worship? Sunnis have burned the places of worship of Shias, and Shias have burned the places of worship of Sunnis. We have burned each other's places of worship. We are doing jihad for the sake of shaitan, not for the sake of Allah. And then in the use of force becomes necessary, then Islam also sets the strict rules of engagement in jihad. Non-participants such as women, children, old people, farms, animals, places of worship must never be touched or harmed, or any peaceful overtures from the enemy must be accepted. If an enemy comes to you, he is aggressor, he is aggressing against you, oppressing your people and your country and your population. And he comes to you and he shows you a goodwill gesture, wants to sit down and talk to you. You immediately stop the hostility and sit down and talk and come to terms. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala deny violence. Islam does not, appreciate violence, does not tell you go kill people. In case of unavoidable armed response, not anyone can declare jihad. Not anybody can declare jihad. It must be declared by a proper authority. And the authority must understand and follow the rules of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not any Tom, Dick and Harry come up and he has 10,000 following and he brings people on the street and burn buses. He started jihad. Allahu Akbar. That is jihad for the sake of shaitan. That's not jihad for the sake of Allah. In an authentic hadith in Ibn Habban, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, the best jihad, one of the best jihad, you see I gave you another example before, one of the best jihad is fighting your own nafs first. A person who is all the way up to his nose in masiyah, in sins, go out in jihad. Allahu Akbar. What right does he have to even talk about jihad? So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in this hadith has said, one of the best jihad is the word of justice and truth in front of an oppressive sultan. If you have a leader in your country, how many people would stand up today? In all these Arab countries with this Amir and that king and that person, how many of them would stand up and speak a word in front of them or behind them and does not get arrested and chopped head? We are known to cut people in pieces and you won't even find their body parts, and we talk about jihad. You want to do jihad? Stand up against these people, those who are corrupting Islam among ourselves. And then when it comes to you and your life is threatened, then of course, if an aggressor comes, you will defend yourself. According to another hadith, one companion wanted to participate in the battle. I think we talked about it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, we will finish inshallah in time, even though we restarted again. وَهُوَ كُرْهٌ لَكُمْ كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الْقِتَالُ وَهُوَ كُرْهٌ لَكُمْ. وَهُوَ كُرْهٌ لَكُمْ means, although you may hate it, you may dislike it. The word kurh means something that one dislikes. When you dislike something, you have a karahiyah, kurh. Because people may be, and in case of jihad, whether by a heart, against your own nafs, by tongue, or by pen, or by other deeds, by hand, helping the poor and all that, people don't like this because of the hardship. Because of the hardship. Because you start speaking truth. Believe me, your circle of friends would be as big as your neck, the size of your neck. 17-inch neck, you will have 1.7 friends. Nobody will invite you. Nobody will talk to you. But if you sit there and you tell people, yeah, you can do it. Say Bismillah and eat. Say Bismillah and drink. Say Bismillah and do this. Yeah. Earn haram and then give it to us. Then you become famous. And being famous in this world, it doesn't really mean anything. It's all going. Jihad is disliked because it involves spending money, leaving one's homeland and family, exposing one's body in harm's way, and even death. People may not like to do it. People may not like to do the jihad against their own nafs because they have a habit they don't want to give up. So the jihad al-nafs is out of question. People do not do the jihad by tongue, because what if I say my wife or my husband or my children to do something and they reject me? There's something some fear sitting in the heart and they don't want to do it. People dislike it in certain situations. Even it is an obligation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to do those things. Jihad by nafs, jihad by pen, jihad by tongue, jihad by hand, in helping people in tornadoes, in hurricanes, in floods, in poverty, in lack of education. Things need to be done. And of course, jihad by arms when there is no other alternate left. And if you don't fight back, if you don't defend, you'll be gone. You'll be eliminated. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala further says, وَأَسَىٰ أَن تَكْرَهُ شَيْئًا وَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ وَأَسَىٰ أَن تُحِبُّ شَيْئًا وَهُوَ شَرٌ لَكُمْ. That it may be that you dislike a thing which is good for you. And what you like, and then there are things which you like for yourself, and there is a lot of harm in it for you from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Only Allah knows and you don't. The word asa means it actually may be the case. That's the word asa. Asa an takrahu shay'an wa huwa khairul lakum. Wa asa an tuhibbu shay'an wa huwa sharrul lakum. This asa has been used in, this is ayn, sin, ya. Ayn, sin, ya. The other asa, which is the stick, walking stick, asaya, that is ayn, swad, alif. Allah the Almighty is saying that you dislike the hardship of any jihad, any of those 4 jihad, but it is good for you. Because if you win against yourself, if you are able to convince another person to do the right thing because of your tongue and because of your writing, because of your speech, or helping somebody in his need, or they may learn a lesson from you and then they will refrain from oppressing you or doing something wrong against themselves. Moreover, if you have a jihad where you have to fight with arms, armed conflict, your victory will free a lot of other nations and group of people from threats of that one enemy who is continuously aggressing against people, continuously oppressing innocent people. Your victory will put an end to it. If you are fighting for a just cause, following the rules of engagement in war, and lose your life, you will be rewarded immensely by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That happened in Andalusia, Spain. The example of Andalusia is there, that people abandoned all kind of jihad. People stopped jihad by heart. They stopped jihad by pen. They stopped jihad by tongue. They stopped helping each other. And some, because of that reason, migrated. When everything was fine and dandy, people lived in Spain. For 910 years, Muslims were in Spain. And when things started going south a little bit, they started moving instead of struggling. Jihad means to strive in a good cause, to struggle in a good cause and bring about the change. And what happened? Their enemies took the land and they captured, and whoever was captured was killed, and rest of them were enslaved. Of course, only Allah the Almighty knows, and you know not, means that's why He sent all those books. What Allah knew, He sent all those books to teach you what He knew. And the entire humanity were given those books. You are not different. Muslims or Christians or Jews are not superior than others. Superior is the one who is following the guidance and applying it on himself first. That's the one who is better. And do not want to know, but we still resist the mercy, the kindness and forgiveness of Almighty Allah. أقول قولي هذا واستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. Inshallah, we will make dua. And before that, I request all of you to invite other people to the program online, on Facebook, on YouTube, or in person here, inshallah. And we will try to accommodate everybody who comes in, inshallah. And dua, inshallah. And اللهم ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وقنا عذاب القبر وقنا عذاب الحشر وقنا عذاب جهنم وادخلنا الجنة مع الأبرار برحمتك يا عزيز يا غفار يا رب العالمين. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وقنا عذاب القبر وقنا عذاب الحشر وقنا عذاب جهنم وادخلنا الجنة مع الأبرار برحمتك يا عزيز يا غفار يا رب العالمين. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إنا كنا من الظالمين. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. والفاتحة. La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. Thank you for coming, brothers and sisters, inshallah. Same place, same time, next week, inshallah.